Dude, so once again, I was telling you, Kyle, I was like, I've been looking forward to this interview all freaking week, dude. One is I want to pick your brain, but two, I just want to hear the story because, after talking with you, about a week ago or so, it's just kind of like, all right, that dude's we've got kindred hearts here, man. And I know that you've been on a different journey than I have been, but your direction went to the same need that I'm seeing out there. And you're able to just live this out. So first of all, man, thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, man. I mean, we met and did a Zoom, and we're like, oh, this is a dude that I need to have in my corner. So it doesn't always happen. And so I'm really thankful for that. And so thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I got to tell you real quick. I mean, you're just like you said, it doesn't always happen. I think I've been on 3 interviews since we talked, and they were all just like, they were not fantastic. I will tell you that. So I know that this one's going to be awesome. Cool. One of the things I was just so intrigued by you is the things that you've established over your experience in life. You have had some challenges and you kind of briefly shared with me some of those challenges, but I'd love for our audience to just kind of get an idea, just a foundation of who you are and what that has done to impact and influence you for making these decisions to where you're at right now in life. So just give us a history of Kyle and your journey.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm from Southeast Wisconsin, a really small town. Oddly enough, it's called Random Lake. And I get a lot of jokes about that because yes, there's a lake there and that is pretty random. So I'm from that small area, and I worked in Milwaukee right out of college. So I don't have the pro athletic career that you did. I played club volleyball at UW Green Bay, but that set me back from 2 injuries, a back injury and a shoulder injury. But so I feel some of that pain literally. So I worked in Wisconsin. I was in travel wholesale, enjoyed that. And then I moved into Minneapolis in 2005. I started to work at Target headquarters. And here's where I really get caught up in the culture of, everyone has heard it, right? Climbing the corporate ladder. Yeah. And the unspoken culture there was every 18 to 24 months, you should be getting promoted, right? And if you're not getting promoted, what's wrong with you? Maybe we need to move this person out. So I really got caught up in that kind of a culture. Target didn't end up working out long-term. I kind of moved into another role, and then I moved into another role. So I did 13 years of corporate America. Mm-hmm. And man, I got so burned out of climbing this corporate ladder. And if anyone has ever been burned out and you're listening, you're like, man, I know exactly what that's like. You're burned out professionally, but that affects all categories of your life. I was the most unhealthy I have ever been. The relationships in my life were not very good. I was married at the time, and it wasn't a good spot in our marriage. Thankfully, I wasn't a father yet, and I would not have been the father that I am committed to being. So it affected every category of life. And I ended up leaving corporate America because I was really in tune with the things that I enjoyed in life, connecting the dots. I love to teach. I love to uncover the process of learning for people. So I swung the pendulum all the way over to the other side, leave corporate America, and I become a high school business teacher. And man, I love teaching. I taught juniors and seniors mostly. I had a blast, loved it. My wife, she got pregnant, and in March of 2017, we welcomed our son Cal into the world. And I took the ultimate promotion in life, man, and I became a stay-at-home dad in June of 2017. And here's what was really interesting is, society kind of measures success professionally, right? So how far up are you going? The cars, the titles, the bank account, all these things, right? It's kind of a self-centered version. So what looked like from the outside, I was taking a step back. Yeah. But from the values and things that were important to me and in my life, I was moving up. And it was such a cognitive disconnect for me. I didn't really understand how to make sense of it. Because when you go to any sort of party, any sort of social gathering, like what's the first question Americans ask each other? Like, what do you do for work? Yeah. And I'm like, you sit in a circle and I'm just like, oh, they're going to ask me. Everyone's going to ask me. I'm like, shoot, here we go. I'm a stay-at-home dad, and it either goes like, oh, that's really cool. Like, how's it going? Yeah. Or it goes like, this is awkward. Let's change the subject real quick. Yeah. And so I had to kind of sit in that for a while, and I had to, to swallow my ego for a long time and kind of disconnect my identity with my professional life and all the achievements and things. And then a couple of years back, so now I'm a stay-at-home dad for a couple of years, and I started to really pour myself into personal growth, leadership development, all these things. And I went to all of the different seminars that are out there and the workshops, and it's all the same thing, man. You sit in a large hotel conference room with 4 walls and no windows. And, not that there's anything wrong with that, but remember, I'm a teacher. And so I learned that we learn best by doing and by experiencing. And so I would always have the breakthroughs at those events, like at the pool, when I have a conversation, like heart to heart with someone, or you walk on the beach, you take a hike with someone, you just really get to know who that person is. And so I thought to myself, like, could I recreate this? If I inverted this whole model, instead of hundreds or thousands, what if I did 12 to 16? And instead of 4 walls in a conference room, what if the great outdoors was my conference room? Instead of teaching leadership, what if I threw people into an environment where they get to experience it and learn it by doing something? So I just started to throw this concept out, and it started to stick, and I had some success, and I'm happy to go into some more of that, but that kind of brings us to the present day right now.
You said something that I don't want our audience to miss, but you talked about this. You had to put your identity on the side because of what you had established over the years. I'm curious to know, in that process, did you? I know that you loved being a father. I know that there were some challenges for you and your wife to get to that point in your life. So was it you were just so overwhelmingly happy to have your son that you had no discontent, or that you had no misdirection, or you didn't have any of those those internal fears and, man, I'm just not becoming the man that I'm supposed to be? Like, did you have any of that mindset going on when you had transitioned and made this commitment?
It was the weirdest 2 years of my life, to be honest, because yes, it's amazing to be home with your son, but at the same time, it's challenging, right? Yeah. I like to think I'm patient, but I got to really experience what it's like to be patient. My mother-in-law says it's the greatest character refinement opportunity ever is to stay home with a child. So like, I got to work on my character, man. And it was a gift. Number one is a gift to be home with my son and develop that relationship and that bond. The second gift was a gift of clarity. So it gave me this time period to say, all right, you get a second act, you get a 2.0. And what do you want to do and design in this life that would light you up, that would use your gifts and your tools and your talents and your story and make an impact on other people? So it gave me that time to sit back and like, all right, what do I want to do next? I've got the time to think about it. I had the support of my wife. During this time, we went through and we crushed a ton of personal debt. And so that allowed us to build something from a really strong foundation, which is, it's a whole nother story that we can get into. But it was, as a male, especially, I had to disconnect my identity from being an achiever professionally and start looking at really building a life off of my values and what mattered most to me. And which prior to that, for 13, 14, 15 years, a successful life to me was a very self-centered version of that. So I had to kind of shed that and relook at and recast a vision for what I defined as meaningful and fulfilling in life.
We're going to dive into your Reaching Beyond Experience platform that you've created. But I know that one of the things that you're super passionate about, just because of what exactly you just went through and what you've just talked about, is this whole idea of balance in our life. And you talk specifically about this work-life rhythm. And I'd love for you to just go into that with our audience about, what do you mean by that work-life rhythm? What does that look like? And what have you identified that is either a challenge for people that you can see, like, hey, listen, if we can just tweak this, if we can just get you in rhythm with this, boy, you're going to experience such a greater lifestyle.
So I defined it as this, right? So it's period of intense focus work followed by periods of rest and recovery and relaxing. And most people will understand this conceptually because we go to the gym. I can clearly see that you work out like you lift, right? So when you lift and when you strength train, you're breaking down your muscles. Your muscles will grow when you rest.
Mm-hmm.
So conceptually, we understand that. And so it's the same thing professionally in life. Like we can go out there and we can do a season of crushing it and working hard, whatever that might be. If you're in a business and you're launching something, like you got a period where you're going to hustle, you got to work.
Yeah.
And most people are really good at that. Where we really are not good is taking the time after that to recharge yourself, to refuel, to rest, to do all that. And you probably get this from being a pro sports player. You understand how that works. So it's no different professionally. And people are very, very good at achieving, but they go from achievement to achievement to achievement to
Mm-hmm.
achievement. Before you know it, you get into your upper 30s, low 40s, and you're like, I'm burned out, man. I can't do this anymore. I can't run on young 20s energy. Like I gotta fill up the tanks again somehow.
Yeah.
And unfortunately in America, a lot of us look at rest and self-care as binging Netflix or going down to Mexico at an all-inclusive resort and overindulging on food and drinks. I've done that before, man. It does not recharge you. You come back from vacation and you need a vacation from that vacation. So we just don't, like, if we can just put containers after these periods of work, like you should have a micro strategy and a macro every single day, something that you do once a week, something you do monthly, quarterly, yearly. I think that's really, really important. And you have to look at yourself and say, all right, how do I best recharge? Like, what is that? Like for me, I'm outside in the woods, man. I'm an introvert, and you give me woods and I've got my axe out there and I'm splitting woods. Like that's my jam. Like I love that stuff, but not everyone operates that way. So you have to take a look and say, all right, I mean, how do I best recover? What do I need? And then how do I schedule that, man? Like most people just leave it up to, well, if I've got time, I'll do this. I mean, so many Americans don't even take the vacation that's given to them in the course of the year.
Right.
So like take your breaks. I think that's really important. Practically, I like the idea of finish lines. So let's stay with vacation, right? So you've taken a vacation, you know, when you've got a vacation coming up, let's say November 1st, you've got a list of all these things that got to get done before November 1st.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? We always end up doing it. And then we take the vacation. That is a clear, defined finish line. So create finish lines both in your day, but then on longer periods as well. Get yourself into a rhythm. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to get that done. And then I'm taking a break. That's a boundary. I'm going to leave myself a container to rest and recharge. So I like the concept of finish lines.
Yeah. Once again, dude, this is awesome. Because we use a lot of the same terminology, right? We just use it in different experiences in life. I love the idea of a finish line as well, too. I will tell you, my concept on the finish line is that oftentimes we have to move our finish line because one is we've already surpassed it, or two, we're not going to accomplish that goal. Like that goal is never, that's just never going to happen again. And you'll never achieve that finish line, which is okay. You just got to figure out the other finish line, but you got to aim towards that finish line. So I'm 100% with you. I love it. Once again, we're using the same terminology with different outcomes from that. So when in your experience, you deal with a lot of guys, which once again, that's what I'm tremendously passionate about that with you. And I just love it. I mean, we're beating on the same path here. What are you experiencing with guys right now in our modern world, right? There's a lot of challenges. Men are not stepping up to the plate. There's a lot of good men out there, but they're pretty silent. And I'm just curious, in your events that you've been putting on, what are you experiencing is a challenge for men in this modern day and age?
The first word that comes to mind, 2 words, lost and confused, because we're not really sure, are we supposed to speak up? If we speak up, is that overpowering? And I think there's just so much confusion in the messaging in today's society and culture around what a man's supposed to be, what he's supposed to do, how he's leading his household. Yeah. And so I think there's a bit of confusion there, but a lot of times the response from men, especially high achieving, high performing, they put their head down and they just work harder. Yeah. And I don't think that's the answer. I don't think achieving more, I don't think working more is the answer. You know, one of the reasons, being a classroom teacher, from an observation standpoint, there was, students that struggled behaviorally and academically. There's a common denominator, and that common denominator usually is an absent father. Yeah. And I'm like, man, guys, we've got to step up. That just is not okay. I mean, I think you and I probably agree a lot of challenges that we're seeing in society today is because men aren't stepping up. Men are absent. They're not even anywhere to be found in terms of leading their kids. And so I think it's a big challenge, but I also think that there's hope in that as well. Like there's a lot of opportunity. The groups that I do, we support and we sponsor and we build orphan homes down in different parts in Central America. And so I think it's really cool that you've got all these men that are stepping up and helping build these dorms that are for orphans. And I just think it's incredible. And we've got ways to do it. We've got ways to step out. But I think it first starts with, ourselves. And I'm a big Michael Jackson fan, Josh, and it's the man in the mirror. You know what I mean? So like,
I just because you like the moonwalk. I thought you just like how to dance like him.
Yeah, I YouTube that once, and there is some tutorials on how to do that. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, if we just step up in our own family, man, it makes a big ripple effect. It's huge. So yeah, like what I see is men are just putting their heads down right now. And they're working harder and they're working more, which I think is, it's just not what we need.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more, my man. I mean, some really scary statistics that are out there just to kind of back up what you're saying, because it's great to have an opinion, but if it's not actually factual, then it's just nothing more than an opinion. And we live in a world right now with so many opinions, and most of them aren't even true and accurate. Right. But 43% of marriages are ending in divorce right now. And it's really, if you start to go macro, just like you're talking about, right, and micro on this, you get the 43% are ending in divorce. Okay, well, that's an interesting statistic. But what's even more interesting is that 60% of those divorces have children in them, and then out of that, 23% of divorced parents, the father's no longer involved in that. So a quarter of the children that are out there in divorce situations, the father's no longer around, right? Yep. That's a massive impact in our society. And they've already run numbers and they've already run what's going on. And children have a tendency to be more aggressive. Children have a propensity to get into drugs and alcohol because they don't have this guidance from a strong male figure. Now, listen, there's a lot of women out there that are doing the best they possibly can. A lot of strong moms out there. They're doing everything they can to raise good boys and girls. But without a father to be there as a father figure, man, it makes it tremendously difficult. And our culture is paying the price for that right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, you and I, we share faith, and God designed a male and a female, and they both have a role to play in raising children. Like, I mean, even as a stay-at-home dad, so I saw the other side of the coin, right? Like, I can't do that, man, on my own. So anyone who's a single parent raising a kid, that's tough. It is really tough, and they're doing the best they can. But we're designed to have both playing a role parenting.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk a little bit about this reaching beyond experience, because once again, I'm just so excited. I've obviously done a ton of research, and as you and I have talked about Kingsman and the evolution of where that's going, you just seem to have hit the bullseye here with really allowing men to raise their hand to say, I want to be a part of that. And that in itself is a feat for guys to just raise their hand, and because we don't do that. We don't volunteer for things like that. We don't look for opportunities like that because, as you said, we're too busy with our head down to even pay attention to those things that really might be impactful for us, right? And so I'm just curious to know, like, just tell our audience, first of all, what is reaching beyond experience? What does that do? And then why is it attractive for men?
Yeah. So I need to start with a backstory, because when I did my first one a couple years back, I just went out to my network and said, you know what, I believe this, right? I believe that we work really hard. I believe that we're out of rhythm, we're out of balance. And I believe that we don't celebrate milestones. We don't celebrate each other. And if we could just take a break once in a while and we can step back and just assess, like, all right, I just came out of this busy work season. I need to pour into my family. I need to pour into my children. My health is a little bit off track, but it's really hard to do that when you're in the weeds and you're going at it day to day. So I just said, here's what I believe. I'm going to rent 10 rooms on Lake Superior, north of Duluth. Who's interested, right? I'm going to bring helicopters in. We're going to do all this stuff. I had no idea if it was going to work, man. I had no idea, but 10 people showed up. And the weird thing was it was all guys. And I was like, all right, well, I didn't market it to all guys.
Oh, you
No,
didn't market it. You were just men and women in general, huh?
Yes. Yeah. And so 10 guys showed up. I'm like, all right, well, let's just roll with it. Right. No big deal. And what was really obvious to me was during that 48 hours of time together, men don't have a lot of containers like this, just to be like, I'm going to show up. I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to open up a little bit if that's what I feel like I want to do. And I need some support in my life. I need some tribe, and I need to do some cool stuff because I haven't done cool stuff in my life for a while. Yeah. And so it was great. And then I did another one and 0 people showed up, dude, like no one. And so that was my second one. I did the third one. 2 people showed up. And now after that, I've sold out the last several of them. So I've got a rhythm to it now, but dude, I did not when I started.
So talk to me about this. So let's go into the failure part of it, or at least what you maybe would have thought is as failure, because we're all experiencing that, right? We go out and try to do something new that we're passionate about. And you're like, why is this not connecting with other people? Why am I not experiencing the success that I thought was going to be so obvious? What did you learn from nobody showing up that second time? What was it that your big takeaway where you're like, okay, I'm never doing that again, or I'm going to fix that?
So first thing would be don't fix what's not broken. So I tried to take the model that I developed and I tried to throw people into a year-long commitment. And we're going to do 3 of these in the year. And I just went overboard. And I don't think people were ready for that. Number one. Yeah. Number 2, I tried to take the model and I tried to turn it into what other people are doing, as opposed to what I thought was authentic to what I wanted to do. So those were 2 really, really big mistakes that I made. So I kind of went back to the drawing board, literally went back to what worked the first time. And I just started doing that again. And I created these one-time experiences. Like you don't need to commit to a full year to do it. Like just jump into the experience. We'll hang out together through some accountability 2 months after it. But like you don't need the full year to commit to it. So that was the big learning lesson for me.
Okay. And then, so you get into, so now you've corrected that. You get into event number 2 or number 3, and you only have 2 show up.
Yeah.
So what's your mindset after that? Cause you're like, did you at the time where you're like, I thought I fixed this? Like, why do I not have more men here?
Well, here's I had 4 and 2 people last minute couldn't make it. And I'm like, man, like, is this like what people would culture would say? Dude, is this the universe's way of telling me not to do it anymore? And I'm like, no, man, I'm going to, like, these 2 guys are showing up. I'm going to show up. Like, they deserve an awesome and amazing experience. And that's what they got. We went dog sledding in the boundary waters of Canada and Minnesota. And we had a blast, man. Like it was great. And we had such an amazing time together. And I just said, all right, I'm just going to keep working on it. Like, I'm not going to give up. Like, you're going to be given you'll get a chance to give up. That's for sure. When you're developing business, as you know, like you get chances to bail. And I wasn't in it for the short term, man. I'm in it for the long term. So I just stayed with it.
So did you, and I got to ask this question because I know everybody out there that's listening is going, so did you lose a lot of money on number 2 and number 3, or like, how do you do? I mean, cause that's part of it too, is like, man, I want to keep going, but how much money can I afford to lose right here? Especially with you know, these are not like, hey, $500 go experience. This is a relatively high ticket experience because it is so unique and so intentional and so quite, to be honest with you, one of a kind and amazing. So how was that after the second and third event then?
Yeah. So, you can be smart about it, right? So I've got certain parts in my contract with hoteliers, with the different vendors, where I say, if I can't get you, the full rooming list without washing out, all of the rooming list within 30 days, like that, like if I can structure the contract such that, man, if I don't deliver, I'm out. And if I can get hoteliers and, different things to do that, that's the ticket right there, because then I could say I got 30 days out until the experience to either get the full group there or I don't. And that's betting on yourself, man. Like a lot of people would say, Kyle, why don't you sell the experience and then go build it? Because I could probably scale it then, right? So, hey, we're going to go to we're going to go to Casper, Wyoming, and here are the dates. And then I can say, all right, if I don't have 12 guys commit, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
I do it the other way around, man, which allows me to plan so far out.
Yeah.
So far out. Like I've got 2022 developed already, which allows me now the time to say, all right, next July, I'm going to Green Bay. I am going to find a Green Bay Packer player to show up to my event because I've got 14 months to do it.
Yeah.
So like, I just believe in betting on myself and planning so far out. And so that's kind of how I did it. But you can contractually figure out ways to make it such that you don't lose money in these things.
Yeah. I love the fact that you just went very strategic on that, by the way, because you can go so high level that it still leaves people going, okay, so what did he really do? So thank you for going really deep on that, because that brought some clarity. And I know that for people that are listening, myself included, that's awesome to say, hey, listen, yes, you can do this, but be really smart about it. Have a strategy, because you've got to always think best case scenario, but you've also got to think worst case scenario.
Yeah.
What is this going to look like, and how do we protect ourselves here? Right.
You have to. I think you have to.
I think that's awesome. Well, you've got a really cool story about this. So Money Momentum is a project that you started. Once again, you kind of opened that door a little bit earlier in this podcast about how you and your wife had kind of gotten through those challenges. You guys had some debt, and you were able to accomplish becoming, I think, debt free, right? I mean, that's what you guys did, and that allowed you to just really start creating momentum in this other chapter of your life. Tell us really quick about Money Momentum, because that's still something that you're very passionate about, and it's still something available for people that are just listening.
Yeah. Well, I think financial stewardship is extremely important. I mean, again, person of faith, you look at how many times money and things like that is dropped in the Bible, and it's quite a bit. So we should pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah.
So it was in between 2015, 2016. Like, this is how nerdy I am. Are you ready for this, man? Like in between Christmas and New Year's, I kind of go through, I put a PowerPoint together for my wife, and I just kind of recap the year. Right. And I'm like, all right, here's how we stand financially. Here are the things we did. Here's the bucket list stuff that I want to do next. Like, I get into it, man. I love that stuff. So I started preparing numbers for my PowerPoint presentation to my wife, who's a CPA, by the way. So she probably
so she nerds out on this too. Then you guys are like two peas in a pod right there. Okay, good.
So I got the numbers, and I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I wonder if I go to social, and everyone should pay attention to this, because this could be your aha moment, like it was for me. You can go to the Social Security website, which is ssa.gov. And you go there, and it's designed to project your retirement income, but it does that off of your earnings life to date and your projected. So I didn't know that. So I log in, put my Social Security number in, I get my profile going, and it spits out my life to date earnings. And I'm like, Josh, I made well over $1 million at this point in my life. And I look around, I'm like, where did it go? Like, I don't,
it's nothing. Not in my bank account right now.
I got nothing. And I was like, Lois, I said, can I have your Social Security number? Because I want to do the same thing for yours. Same thing with her. So together, well over $2 million. And I'm looking around, and we've got a major negative net worth number. We might have a couple $1,000s in savings in the bank. And it's like, I felt this vortex and culmination of anger, sad, frustration, embarrassed. And I'm like, this is it. Like, I'm not doing finances the way I used to do finances. So found Dave Ramsey's plan. And in 38 months, we got rid of $379,000 in debt. And I'm like, that's it. We're not going to be unconscious and sleepwalking as it relates to finances anymore. And so that was the momentum that just really has now carried forward in all other categories of life.
Dude, you're knocking over $100,000 a year of debt out. That was awesome.
Yeah. Every month, man, it's just like, there it comes in, there it goes. Yeah. But it's at that point, like, it's going towards something that is really good, and it's going to springboard forward. Whereas before, like, it's like having 1,000 holes in a boat. Like, it just leaks everywhere. And now it's just really intentional. And when you put the power of focus behind money, watch out, like, things will happen really fast.
Dude, I love that you brought that up. First of all, that website is ssa.gov again. Yeah. So go to that. We've made some transitions in our lives, and I stopped. And there was a point where I realized that I no longer wanted to go down the path that I was going down, which was as an active full-time real estate agent, running a brokerage, running a team, multiple hats. But I wanted more of my life back, right? And you've talked about that rhythm of life, work-life rhythm. And in order to do that, though, we knew that we were going to take a pay cut. My wife, Kate, had made a decision a few years prior to that to stay at home. So we lost that income. And then I was going to reduce our income even more. But it's funny, just like you said, when you realize what is important in your life and you start to plug the holes, it's amazing how much more enriched our life is now. And we do far more things on way less income than we've ever done. We have more savings. We have more opportunities. I was like you, I'm like, where is the money going? It's ridiculous, but it was just going out and frivolously with absolutely no intentionality behind it. And it's just been a game changer for us. So I couldn't agree more with what you're saying right there. I think it's just an awesome, awesome thing. So thank you for bringing that advice right there.
Yeah.
So you've got a podcast.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. This is kind of how we met right here.
Yeah.
Tell everybody what your podcast is, because I want to make sure that they get hooked up and listen to you, because I know they're going to be like, okay, so where do we find more about Kyle? I got to hear more of this guy's message.
Yeah, it's not surprising. It's called Reaching Beyond. And so it's same as the Reaching Beyond experiences, which really is a play on words, because most people think this life that they really want to live is beyond their reach. But I think when you get rid of those limitations and you just surround yourself with tribes of people that are doing that stuff, you can reach beyond all of those limitations, most of which are self-imposed. So Reaching Beyond, and we do guest interviews and we've been doing that a little bit over a year, over 150 or so, and just having a lot of fun, man. I get to meet people just like you and just have, great conversations and add value to people and just, carry on great conversations. And that's what it's all about. I really enjoy it. So.
Yeah. Well, it is so much fun having you on, dude. It's been a pleasure to be able to listen to your story and to get to know you even more than I did before. And I know our audience is going to want to continue to follow up on you. The Reaching Beyond experience, that's the actual website as well too, right? Or is it how do men find an opportunity to look at what you've got coming up, even though I know you're sold out for a lot of your stuff?
If you just, it's on my website too. So if you went to kyledepiesse.com and you clicked on men's experiences, you'll see it, and you'll really enjoy some of the videos and the clips and stuff. Cause we've done we've done some fun things, and that's what it's all about, man. We all work hard, and it's great to step back and have fun once in a while.
Yeah. Well, I love what you're doing, brother. I love your passion. I love your heart for men. And it's not just about men, because even though you do things for men, you know that it bleeds into these other aspects of life. They become great fathers. They become great husbands. They become great leaders, which impacts men and women, children as well too. So I love your heart, dude, and just keep serving and keep saying yes, dude. So I can't wait to see what God has got planned for your future, and hopefully something that we can do together. So.
Yeah, I love that, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing your platform with me.
Absolutely. All right, you guys. Hey, listen, that the only admission that we charge on this thing is that you get this into the hands of those that need to hear this message. And I'm sure that you took away some awesome things here today. I just keep going back to this ssa.gov, and I'm kind of scared. I'm not going to lie. I don't necessarily want to know, but over the years, we've gotten a lot better. So I'm going to breathe a little bit before I do it. But do that. Take the challenge. Go to that ssa.gov and see where you're at. And maybe you need something in your life. And then you'll go, of course, to Kyle's website. He's got this whole entire money momentum platform that you can look into. And then, of course, if you're a guy, I want you to go to Man-Made, but you can also go to Reaching Beyond Experience as well too, because I know that they will most certainly complement each other, and we can't have enough great men in our lives to surround ourselves with. So pass this on. So appreciate you guys. Love you, and have a fantastic rest of your day.